$10. How much? Like $10.
Nadia,
I want
we
to
have
pay
a
for
roll
that.
call.
I think
John
that's
Black?
Amazon.
Here.
Travis Oakley,
Here.
Aaron Macy,
Here.
Raymond Mason,
Here.
Ann Shout,
Hands out.
Here.
Okay, she's here.
Marshall Ballard,
Here.
Margie Dunn, here.
I think you should call me.
Pat Doherty,
Here.
Sonny Alizzo.
Sonny, did you?
You're stuck in that hoop.
We have four.
Before we conduct any business that's on our prepared agenda, our town attorney, Scott Davis would like to, our city attorney, Scott Davis would like to address us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Marcus is here. Sonny's here too now.
Sorry, we can't find my direct flight.
We good? Everybody good? We're good, yeah. I have brought you a gift this evening from the Board of Aldermen in the form of Jamie Mosley.
Yeah.
I've been talking with the Board of Aldermen for a good many years now about the need to have counsel for each of these boards for each of your meetings.
Can you ask him to speak up, please?
Yes, ma'am. I will do my best. I'm far away, but I will speak as best I can.
Thank you.
As best as my schedule will permit, I come to help you whenever I can, when we can anticipate that you might need my help. But there's nothing better than having someone here with you all the time. That person is going to be Miss Mosley. She's going to be meeting, to the extent she needs to meet with the chairman, but more likely for this particular board, with Jeff. She'll be meeting with Jeff in the days leading up to the meeting, going over your agenda with me and Jeff, making sure that on the legal side, you're as prepared as you can be, so that if you hit a bump in the road during your meeting, you've got someone you can turn to live to help you. So we're going to be here tonight with you. When she returns at your next meeting, she'll be flying this plane by herself. So you'll find her to be very capable, very easy to access. If you need her, you can call my office. She's got an extension by email or through Jeff. We're here to help you any way we can. So with that said, enjoy your meeting.
Thank you.
Speech, James, speech. No, don't do that this evening. All right.
Well, we welcome you to our board meetings. Thank you. I'm sure we're all going to enjoy having your help. The first item of the agenda is the approval of the July 7th minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Yeah.
Are there any comments or addenda to make to them?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the July 7th, 2020 minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is that motion seconded?
Second.
We have a motion and seconded. Nadia, can we conduct a roll call, please?
John Black,
Yay.
Travis Oakley,
Yeah.
Aaron Macy,
Yay.
Raymond Mason,
Yes.
Ann Shout,
Dan, you approve?
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Here.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
Pat Doherty,
Yes.
Sonny Alizzo,
Yes.
The motion passes. The first item of new business is the Weyerhaeuser NR Company, care of McKim Creed, are requesting a general subdivision plan approval for the new Bern Aesthetic Center. This section of the multi-phase development is located on approximately 6.9 acres in the C3 commercial district. The site is located to the north of Highway 70 in the ETJ. Mr. Chair, can we have a staff review of this agenda item?
Thank you.
As you said, the applicant, Weyerhaeuser, is through McKim Creed, the representative is here today, is requesting a preliminary general plan approval of the new Bern Aesthetic Center. We've gone over the stats already, Mr. Chair. It's in a commercial C3 district, approximately 7 acres in size, the entire parcel, and I'll explain that a little earlier, a little later on. They received departmental subdivision review approval in December, and all the services will be provided by the city of New Bern. Everyone familiar with this area here? This is the Craven 30 site. It's now called West New Bern Town Center. The parcel that we are concerned with is located about here with a funky stub kind of flag that extends along this existing road. Here's the site plan that we are approving tonight. It's platting over the existing streets that we saw in the last picture to meet the access requirements of the code. So this is one continuous piece of property being carved out of the greater one down to the Aesthetic Center site, along with some right-of-way up here. The reason for this is, as we'll show a little later on, is that this road design network does not work with the new plans for the entire site, but this road does. So what we're doing here is platting an easement, a utility easement, where the new road will be built eventually, and allowing this to exist as essentially the long driveway to the Aesthetic Center once it's built out. So there's a couple things going on. So we're carving out dirt, we're creating utility easements here. We reviewed it all. It's consistent with section 1579 of our ordinance, and we are at this point recommending approval of the general subdivision plan. The applicant is here. I'd like to make a few statements on the project and answer any questions that you all have. I know you probably have a couple of them, so Tara's here with McKim Creed to just give you a little more information on the project itself. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Jeff. Good evening, Chairman Black, members of the board. I'm Tara Murphy with McKim Creed Engineering, representing the project on behalf of Weyerhaeuser. Joining me this evening is Cliff Parsons, attorney with Ward & Smith. Jeff provided a good overview of the project, so I'm going to keep my comments brief. We are certainly appreciative and continue to be appreciative of the efforts of the City of New Bern staff as they continue to work diligently with us to further develop the West New Bern master plan. Just a quick status of what's going on out there today. If you drive by the site, there's a lot of activity. The modifications to the West New Bern Parkway and Clock Road are underway. There is landscaping and signage. We're making significant progress out there. The Comet site is a multifamily parcel right here. That's received approval, and the foundations and the buildings going vertical should happen in the next few weeks. The single-family homes have also been previously approved. Those single-family homes, the infrastructure is in construction currently. And then, as Jeff explained, the next step that we're looking to develop out of the master plan is the Zanis parcel down here. So we continue to follow the master plan illustrative. We're pleased to present this request for this additional phase of the West New Bern development, the New Bern Aesthetic Center. Dr. Zanis has been engaged with Weyerhaeuser for a number of years and is looking very forward to being the next person in the neighborhood here. The request before you this evening for consideration is a result of the collaborative effort of the development team in concert with the input of city's technical staff. This request is for the preliminary plat, the water, sewer, utilities, and the access to the site as Jeff indicated. We're pleased to see this development progress and gain additional momentum. Your support this evening would be much appreciated, and Cliff and I are both happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the new easement, what will become a road that you're asking, and it's not going to cut off any of the other parcels there, will it?
No. In fact,
Because it looks like you see the round, okay. cool.
this
Yeah,
is
there's
the road, yeah, and so right now, we're talking about the existing driveway comes down this way, and as Jeff indicated, it doesn't really work with the full master plan in the future, so in the future, the access to this parcel is gonna be down at James Davis Drive and the extension there.
So let's go back.
Yeah.
So you can see that here, Margaret. Oh, crap.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah,
So that was James Davis Drive.
so in the future, that's the road that'll be there and work
They're gonna
within the master plan.
Pull this all up.
Okay.
Mhm.
All that-
But Dr. Zanis is so excited to get out here, and this is the actual parcel that has always been established with his piece. This is just a temporary way to access the site until there's further momentum with this village center.
Do any other board members have questions at this point? Ann, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Sonny?
No, I'm good too, thank you.
Marcus?
No, I'm good.
The easements also account for sidewalks. They have an adequate width for sidewalks on the road in the
The
future.
actual easement is a full right-of-way width
Okay.
for the James Davis Drive,
Perfect.
and we're in negotiations and discussions with the city for the full improvements.
Mr. Director of Development Services, this is a final plat approval essentially, where this is before the board. Does this go before the?
We'll see the final plat again.
This is the final plat.
We'll see it one more, no, this
Yeah,
is
this is
preliminary.
Preliminary plat,
We'll see the
okay.
final one more time. And it won't look any different than this.
So is this a recommendation we're making to the Board of Aldermen at this?
Nope, not, right now, you're just approving the preliminary site plan.
Thank you.
In 99% of the situations where we see preliminary plans, we wouldn't see the final plat for years afterwards, because preliminary gives the applicant and
Yeah, time to provide it.
they can start their project. They have a level of comfort in what the project's going to be approved and what it's going to look like, so they start doing the infrastructure and start carving out lots. Final is really reserved for the final sale of the parcels, but this will happen relatively quickly at that point in time.
Having heard no more questions, I would like to entertain a motion to approve this preliminary plan.
I move that.
We have a motion, is it seconded?
Second.
Nadia, can we have a roll call, please?
Yep. Don Black,
Yay.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Aaron Baker,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes.
Ann Schell,
Ann?
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Marcus?
Yes.
Yeah, he says yes.
Yes.
Pat Darcy,
Yes.
Sonny Aluso,
Yes.
Did you vote Travis?
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of application to rezone a portion of parcel ID number 8-211-005, totaling 42 acres plus or minus from R10 residential to R6 residential, and this is in the ETJ. Mr. Director, do we have staff review, please?
Sure. Our applicant, Michael Raines, is here tonight, is requesting a rezoning for a 42-acre parcel from R10 to R6. It's currently an undeveloped parcel. Got MLK down here to the south, New Bern High School here, Academic Drive, moving around in this section here. The R10 residential district is designed to accommodate single to two-family homes with a 10,000 square foot minimum lot size for single-family detached dwellings. For multifamily, you would add another 5,000 per unit. you can see here, let's talk about the zoning. It is surrounded by R6, R6, C3 right here. These lots are fronting on MLK. R6 next to it, just an odd kind of R10 site, probably a leftover from something not being rezoned in a while. So the rezoning seems very appropriate in this area here. R6 is a slightly more dense residential district. Minimum square footage is 6,000 square feet, allows a little more flexibility in what type of housing can go on the site also. As far as, I guess you could do a mobile home if you did a mobile home park, but we're not doing mobile homes here, so. Yeah.
Would modulars go in there?
Modular is fine, yeah. Modular home is considered just like every other stick-built home regulated by the North Carolina Building Code.
But they've been upgraded, huh?
Well, same building code.
Same building code, yeah. So that's really what determines what's a mobile home and what's not. If it's regulated by HUD, if it's regulated by HUD, it's a mobile home. If it's regulated by North Carolina Building Code, it's a regular stick built, or I don't even know what the term would be, but it's not a mobile home. Surrounding land use, I talked about that a little earlier. Does have some agricultural to the north, but mostly surrounded by R6 and commercial C3. All the utilities are provided by the city. This is a vacant and undeveloped land. It has a very high suitability for development. It's outside the floodplain. I think the elevation is 27, maybe a little higher than that. There's no risk of flooding. It's a good development site, good area to upzone from R10 to R6, given its proximity to MLK corridor and New Bern High School. So with that, staff is recommending approval of this rezoning. The applicant is here. I'm not sure if he wants to speak or not.
It's the same questions, I'd be happy to
Sure.
answer.
All right. Thank you.
Now, my understanding, this is a rezoning, so we're making a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen.
Correct.
Does any member of the board have any questions? The applicant's here if you want to ask him directly. Having heard none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve item B on this agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is it seconded?
Second.
We have a motion and seconded. Nadia, do we have a roll call, please?
Don Black,
Yay.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Aaron Beatty,
Yes.
Raymond Lason,
Yes.
Aaron Schout,
Dan?
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Marcus?
Yes.
Pat Darcy,
Yes. Yes.
Sonny Aluso,
Yes.
So passed.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, item C, is the consideration of an application to rezone 3 parcels totaling 1.38 acres approximately from R15 to R10 residential. These parcels are located at 3205, 3207, 3209 Country Club Road and are further identified as Craven County Parcel IDs 8-056-001, 8-046-035, and 8-046-036, and these parcels are all located within Ward 3. Mr. Director, could we have a staff review of this request, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You may remember this. We saw this request a few months back. Is this the gentleman that was building the three
Correct.
homes built?
Yep.
I thought we had to do this.
We did, but it's changed just a little bit, and I'll explain it to
There
you.
was some confusion as to the kind of buildings he wants.
Yeah, so the previous request didn't allow to the developer or the applicant to meet his minimum lot width requirements for the R10 district and required him to add property to the request in order to meet the minimum lot width requirement for the R10 zoning district. So we came back, picked up another lot, and he came back and is asking essentially again as a new application. So Mr. McCracken, he's also here tonight. Here is your request here on Country Club Road, just down the street. We got these 3 lots right here, requesting this rezoning. Existing zoning is R15, surrounded by R15, minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet.
And he's already got a structure on one of those, don't you?
Pardon?
Don't you already have a structure on one of those lots?
We do not?
No.
You do not, okay.
Jeff, do you have the surveys?
Not in this.
Okay.
No.
May I get to the podium?
And let me finish up and
Okay.
we can get right on up. So the request again is the R10, 10,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. Everything allowed in R10, single family detached, attached, and duplexes are allowed in R10. Everything around it is R15. Across the way is Trenton Woods, which provides a very different type of land use pattern. As you can see here, these small lot type developments, I believe, are 35 feet wide in these lots. Patio home type development a little to the north is an office park. I forget where the optometrist is, if it's higher up or lower. But, there's a medical center across the way. So you've got kind of low density residential on one side of the street and kind of more dense, more mixed uses across the street in different jurisdictions. Zoning. The area is classified under our Cameron Regional Land Use Plan as developed, which says it's a hodgepodge of many things. All the utilities provided here will be from the city. It's a medium suitability for development area. It is all the request is entirely in the 100-year floodplain, which doesn't preclude any development, just adds a little bit of construction standards to it as far as height and mostly height in this area. We don't have to worry about any kind of wave action or anything like that. So the structures will be elevated above the 100-year floodplain, plus another 2 feet. After review, staff does recommend approval of this parcel, of this request. The housing type that Ms. McCracken is proposing is consistent, even though the lot sizes are a little smaller. The sizes of the homes are very consistent with all the other houses in the area, so it does make sense to allow for this rezoning in this area. Ms. McCracken's here if you have any questions, or Brian, did you want to get up and say something?
Sure. I don't know if everybody can see this. Currently, I'll walk it around. Currently, we have 3 lots. That's existing. This is R15. Well, if you want to see that again, I'll show it to you, but I'll go back to this. This is 4 lots. This is R10. But the way they're subdivided, you'll have 14,000 square feet on, let me back up so everybody can see, 14, 14, 14, 19. The only reason we don't break it down so it's 15, 15, 15, is for frontage here. This line will push over, really making this lot not usable. So, are there any questions relative to the 2 surveys?
Your lot sizes will still be well over, they'll be almost R15.
Yeah, they're well over the
R10.
R10.
You said there were 14,000, is that
14.
Yeah.
14 on the smaller.
Okay.
14 foot. Now, what was lacking in the last proposal was we didn't have frontage, which you need 80 feet of frontage to get to be in compliance with an R10 lot. So we have 80, 80, 80, and I don't even know what this is right now. I think it's 115. Any other questions relative to size of lots?
So this location, these 3 lots, but you have 4 lots.
This is what exists, built by right.
So you're
Underneath is what I'm proposing.
You're redefining the lines.
Yeah, so after the rezoning request, when we see a subdivision request?
Correct.
All right.
And we will be building single-family homes. Is anybody familiar with a development in Beaufort? It's Beaufort. Anyway, I know I'm looking at you thinking. I'm sorry, Jeff, but please. But anyway, there's a development in Beaufort where there is coastal architecture, has very traditional architecture, without being too beachy. But that is going to be built here. It's not the plan. It will be built.
What's your ground level there? Do you know what you're at? What's the ground at?
I need to add 7 feet above the current elevation. And that will put me above the new flood. So, we have $150,000 allocated to bring in dirt to bring us up. To do that, there's plenty of money. We know we have to do that. The house will not be built on stilts or anything. It's going to be traditional cinder block foundations, and they'll be single level living so that they're not too tall relative to Country Club Road. So, if you could bring the site map up.
Which one?
That's it. That's good enough. There's currently a house being built right here that is similar in its elevation. It actually is 3 feet lower than the lowest spot here. So there's development here in Trent Woods. So it's buildable. It's just difficult. I'm the guy to do it. So. Any more questions?
Thank you.
As I'm not hearing any questions, at this point I would like to entertain a motion to make a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen to approve the rezoning as so stated on agenda item 6. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
We have a motion. Is that motion seconded?
Second.
We have a motion and seconded. Nadia, can we have a roll call, please?
Don Black,
Yay.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Karen Beatty,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes.
Ann Shout,
Ann?
Yes? Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Duck,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
Pat Darcy,
Yes.
Sonny Aluzo.
Yes.
The motion so passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of a request to review height regulations in R-6 zoning district, residential, commercial, waterfront overlay districts, and river station mixed-use overlay district from the Board of Aldermen. This is going to be a change in the land use ordinance, and can we have a staff review from the director, please?
Thank you. As y'all remember, 2 meetings ago, I introduced to y'all the issue, right? Gave you some background information on what was going on and what these 4 issues were that we were asked to investigate and make recommendations to the Board of Aldermen. Last meeting, we spent that time workshopping solutions. With your recommendations, we have crafted language and made additions and subtractions to our existing code in order to meet those requirements. So the first issue was losing that 1 foot from the new flood maps. So that was simply adding a foot Now, there is 2 areas where it's 2 feet they have lost, but that's Union Point Park and another area that doesn't have really any development on it, so it's not perfect, but it meets the intent. It was pretty tough to make it perfect. We talked about when we elevate existing structures in both of the residential and the commercial overlay districts, to allow them to exceed those height caps under 2 scenarios. Which would allow them to elevate, to get their structures outside the floodplain and the wave action. We have a new zone called a LIMWA, a limited wave action area, and we have velocity zones, which is full-on wave action. Many people want to get their homes out of that, especially after Florence and experiencing the flooding. These areas are both our historic districts also. It is probably our responsibility to protect those structures from the repeated beatings of being flooded all the time. So in order, and as of today, they can't elevate to the extent they need to elevate because they'll be hitting the height cap in these districts. So we made some exception language in the code to allow for that elevation. There was 2 things this board talked about. We allowed that elevation as long as there's no increase in the size of the building itself, the mass, so you're essentially not doing anything but picking the building up, and you're not elevating the structure beyond what that minimum base flood elevation plus 2 feet requires. So if you're required to elevate 6 feet to be in compliance with our regulatory flood elevation, you can't add 10 feet because you want a better view of the trend. So you can only add to the minimum standard there. So that language will go on.
And we're just regulating this through building permits, correct?
We are regulating this through building permits, correct. So when someone comes in for elevation, that's a structural permit. They'll have to get a building permit to do that, and it'll be regulated through that.
Rudy, was this where I was reading about steeples and stuff like that?
Steeples are not,
That
steeples are steeples.
They didn't change, I thought you were talking about that didn't change.
None of that changed.
None of that changed.
None of that changed.
Right. So we are talking about where we're reading it, okay.
Yep, no. So appurtenance, rooftop appurtenances and all that stuff, none of that has changed in the code. Oh, this was just our example. We talked about the River Station mixed-use overlay district, in that the height standards in this overlay district for River Station weren't very specific, in that they just referenced stories of 1.5 to 2 stories, and also reflected the look and height of downtown, which isn't a good way to establish development standards. So we wanted to be more specific in that we are using the R6 height limitations that are in the code, which are essentially for almost every residential classification in our code, of 50 feet. So in the River Station mixed-use overlay, it's not going to reference stories as far as what building heights can be. It'll just, for residential, it will just reflect 50, like it does everywhere else in the city. And this is the language. So see where it says 3 stories, 1.5 stories, and this was in section 15486.
Back up one, Jeff.
Which one? Up here?
Nope. Right there.
Up here.
Yeah, I think fourth or third highlight, we missed the 3 there.
Yeah.
On our strike through.
Yeah.
Come down.
2/3 way down.
The second item, or second,
Okay. Yeah.
but I think it's correct in here, really.
Well, this, yeah, we're going to tighten this up.
Yeah.
Scott's going to make it magical to be approved and go into our code. But we'll get on that. The strike through underline is that will go to the board.
Yeah, it was, I think it was correct in the actual language you did, I think it's just the presentation. Because I didn't pick it up before.
Here's something else, man. Where is the, oh, okay. And also, we're making a map amendment, essentially, in our code, which doesn't require any language. This is the residential waterfront overlay district, which has its own height limitation of now 45 feet. Remember, we talked about this project here, which was at the confluence of 3 different regulations, and it didn't make any sense, and the recommendation was simply stop this overlay district at Queen Street and not extend beyond Queen Street. So essentially, the map will just be changed in the ordinance itself, in the description of the overlay district. So that was the fourth change that we did. So if there's any questions? But we did a pretty good job of working these things out last meeting.
Having heard no questions from members of the board, at this point I would like to have a motion to approve this request to the Board of Aldermen to act on of item number D, the changes in the land use ordinance. Do we have a motion?
Move the motion.
We have a motion, is that motion seconded?
Second.
We have a motion, the motion is seconded. Nadia, could we have a roll call, please?
Don Black,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Karen Basie,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes.
Ann Shout,
Lynn?
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Mark?
Pat Darcy,
Yes.
Sonia Luzo.
Yeah.
And the motion so passes. Now we come to board member comments, but before we do that, I would just like to thank the city attorneys for their presence. And Scott Davis has served us very well. I appreciate everything he's done for us. And our new attorney, thank you. We look forward to working with you. The next thing is I've asked Jeff to prepare essentially an economic status. One of the responsibilities we're supposed to be doing is to promote harmony in the city, and part of that is economic development. And Jeff, would you give us
Sure.
a preface of what you have put together for us?
Well, what I did, thank you, Mr. Chair. We, as the Development Services, provides a year-end kind of where are we now building and growth report that should be completed in another 2 weeks. So that'll be pushed out to the website. I know that the realtors love it. I've already gotten a couple of phone calls about when it's going to be put up. So before that's ready, we've been working on some census issues lately and some redistricting stuff. So that had to take a little of a back burner, but we keep the data by month, so it's really easy to put together the year-end thing. But what I did was I just pulled our last month's data, and I'll just comparing it to last year, and I'll just share it with the board right now. So as far as this year to date, this only includes this is just November numbers. New commercial construction permits, we had 89. All of 2019, we had 138. New commercial. New residential, new single-family residential, we had 169 as of 11 months into the year. Last year, we did 198. Remodels and additions, which last year's probably, and the year before, was really skewed because of all the hurricane damage. This year, we at 222. Last year, we were at 381. Mobile homes are down so far. We had 9 this year and 12 last year. And if I find out where they are, I'm going to get them. We got, okay, COs is not that important, COs. But so this is kind of, sometimes when you see numbers that shrink, you kind of think, well, things aren't going well. But usually when we have smaller numbers, the valuation of the work is more. And that's the case so far this year. So as of last month, the permit valuation of all the work that came through the office, and that includes everything I just said, including signs, and but mostly, remodels, commercial, and residential construction, it's at 102.5 million for the year, and last year it was at 65 million. So
It's a significant
we're
increase.
doing less work, but the value of the work is greater. And that happens. I don't know why, but it almost always happens that way. When we have lower numbers, the values go up. So,
What you mean is lower applications. I
Yeah.
would think that the construction, the footage of the construction is
That-
probably much larger.
yep, and that's quite possible. Yeah. You know, we have the common apartments, as Tara was saying, so that's a big chunk of change. We have the Carolina Ave apartments across the way, so that's a big chunk of change too. So multifamily, a big type of year, Newburgh Marketplace came into, that was a big one. So,
And this directly adds to the
yeah, that's taxable
assessments.
value, right? That's
Yeah.
102 million of new taxable value. If the tax assessor agrees with the number.
And a lot of this happened during the COVID crisis.
Absolutely, yeah. We didn't really see much of a slowdown. We saw a couple weeks, and after that, it picked up again.
Well, I think it's a very rosy
So
review myself.
when the report is done, I'll email it out to the board so y'all can have it, or see a link to it on the website. All past years are there too, if you want to, need some nighttime reading. So that's that, Mr. Chair. Thank you. If you have any questions, please fire away.
Well, thank you. Are there any other questions that anybody may have? Comments, thoughts? Well, we all hope that this coming year will be better than what we've just gone through, and we all look forward to the end of this COVID crisis, I'm sure. At this point, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Marshall has something?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
question. At the December meeting, you changed the date for the meeting. What date was that you changed?
Was
I didn't have my calendar
We
with
went to
me.
a Thursday.
That was in August,
That's like some night, day out in August. I think it's something.
National Night Out.
National Night Out, that was it.
We want to change it every year.
Yeah.
The first Tuesday in August, and we'll move to that Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, it was first
Thursday in
Tuesday
August.
is the National Night Out, so that August meeting has been moved to Thursday.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
John,
Yes, Dan.
it's been really hard to hear and understand today. Is there a reason why we are not Zooming this meeting?
I don't think we have the technology to do that. Nadia, what,
I could Zoom. I do now have the technology.
We do have
I
that?
do now, yes. I could, we could do it. We could do it.
We
If
could-
everybody does it. The problem is, everybody has to do it. I can't Zoom from here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if we Zoom, I'm sitting in my office and y'all are sitting in your living rooms. But I can't do a hybrid.
Okay.
So so if you want to talk about Zooms, let's talk about it now. And if y'all can do it, you can do it on your phone. But I can't do a call in and a Zoom because the echo and the reverb is, yeah, it doesn't work. So it's all or nothing.
What if we all came and sat in your living room?
It's not a big one. For you.
You didn't hear me? I said I can fix that.
Yeah, you can. So if you want to have that conversation, I'm fine either way, honestly. I'll do what the commission wants to do, but it has to be one or the other. And I can get, the reason why you can't hear is because our two little satellite mics have died, and I will work on I'll get new ones. Okay, so I'll work on that this week, and that really will fix.
Oh, that's a good reason.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Thanks,
worked
Sonny.
out every third word.
I know, okay, all right. I'll work on getting the new mics, but if we want to have a Zoom, this is the time to talk, okay. No one wants to Zoom.
Great.
All right, and I will work on getting a better audio system for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, no problem. We got to do that anyways, because they're dead.
Any other questions from members of the board, comments?
A motion, we adjourn?
We have a motion adjourned. Is that motion seconded?
Yes.
We have a motion seconded. Nadia, roll call, please.
Bob Black,
Yay.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Aaron Basie,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes.
Ann Schout,
Yes?
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
Pat Darcy,
Yes.
Sonny Aluso,
Yes.
The motion so passes. We are adjourned.
Thank you all.